joeradio.org. We are about to go live. That's why we say 7-ish, because you know.
So joeradio.org?
Joeradio.org. We're live on Facebook, so if you want to share, or on the app. If you want to share the live video,
I can do it right now.
Yeah, you can do it right now. And we should be getting started soon.
So on Facebook, at Joel or at you?
On Facebook, go to my profile.
Okay, I'm there.
And then the live video should be popping up any minute now.
There you are, you're right there.
Yeah, and then share it. Inception style.
Yeah, super Inception.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, I gotta lower this volume too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, make sure your phones,
I'll take it off in a sec.
Yeah. And for anyone out there, remember, you can listen live on joeradio.org or on the Joe Radio app for your phone. So we're here chilling. Okay, we're about to go on. Remember that thing I commented on your thing, on your video? I was like, that feeling you get right before you go on live.
That's cute. All right.
Sorry.
Oh, there you are. Okay, so now
you can share it, yeah.
And Antonella, I'm going to tag you too. Antonella. Mm-hmm. We became friends, right? Antonella. There you are. Cerasuolo. Cerasuolo. That name is like rock star, right?
Yeah.
Right? That name is like rock star.
We're destined for greatness with that name.
All right. So we're going to start in about 3,
See you guys on the waves.
1.
We're good.
That we happen to find ourselves alive during this full activity.
Adorable.
There's things going on all the time. And now we have greater access to seeing them happen in front of us. It gets confusing and sometimes painful. But in the end, love sets it all free. So that's love. It's the only answer. From the soul, y'all. Chris, I'm gonna bring you in.
Peace world, welcome to Meet Them Mondays on Jolt Radio. I'm your host, Cristian Portilla. And tonight is the Women with Tattoos episode. And since it's Women's History Month, I figured I would call on some of the baddest women I know. In the studio with me is Antonella Cerasuolo of Junkyard Studios and Amor, owner of Miami Tattoo Co., an activist against human trafficking. For the record, she had kidney stone surgery this weekend, and she still showed up today for her cause. So, yay! Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's good to be here and get out of the bed and out of the hospital and out of the house.
I'm so happy you're here. Amor is a radio host on Life FM 90.9. Her show is Unbound, a city against human trafficking. The show specifically focuses on raising awareness and helping with the prevention of human trafficking. She's also a member of the South Florida Human Trafficking Task Force, and she specializes in tattoo removal. Antonella Cerasuolo, hey girl.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Has been creating fine art and art in general since she was 13, and she became a professional tattoo artist in 2015 after completing her apprenticeship the year before. She is one of 2 women artists at Junkyard Studios and specializes in traditional influence with a new interest in neo-traditional style. Welcome, Antonella. Welcome, Amor.
Hey, welcome. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. So let's get into the show. Antonella, for a while you had been telling me you wanted to work on this project with me and speak about women and tattoos and women who tattoo. Why is this topic important to you, and what's your story? How did you get into this business?
When I was younger, about 15 years old, I got my first tattoo machine. with a friend. Actually, he's a tattooer, and we worked along each other, so it was pretty cool. And I thought I was doing it right until I realized that it's like doing brain surgery with no prior experience. So I said, this isn't gonna work out, so I kind of give up on it, but I never stopped drawing. And as time went on, at 18, I moved to San Francisco to start San Francisco College of the Arts, and I wanted to be a huge illustrator and work in Pixar, and had this huge dream for me, but that didn't really work out. And I was always gravitating towards tattooing, and one day, Junk, my mentor, hey Junk, he posted something on Instagram saying that he's looking for apprentices. And I was looking at this in San Francisco on my computer and like super excited. So I emailed him and sent him some pictures of my work and really went all out on this email. And he said, oh, I want to meet you, so come by. But the problem was I was living in San Francisco.
Oh my.
So I just said, you know what, this is my opportunity, and it wasn't really working out over there. I had already been there a year, so I decided, let me just fly out.
You came back home?
Yeah, with not knowing if this was going to be solid. So I came back, met him, and he very vaguely described what I was getting myself into. He really did, because apprenticing and tattooing has been one of the hardest things ever for me, but very lucrative. Like I'm really happy that I was able to go through it. And he said, oh, can you start tomorrow? And that's it.
It was history.
That's it. It was history. I started my apprenticeship, which was really hard.
Yeah, that was back in 2015, you told me, no?
I started 2014, and I more or less earned my rank to like start tattooing people
a year later.
Yeah.
Awesome.
For free. And I was a do girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll explain more if you want about apprenticeships.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
And how about you, Amor? I know you hold your cause close to your heart, and now you focus on cover-ups for victims of human trafficking, ex-gang members. But how did you start, and how did the cause find you?
Man, it was, like I was telling you off the air, and, my story's out there so people know how I got involved. But in 2012, I ended up getting like a call from God, to quit my job. I mean, I had a corporate career for 22 years. I was making a lot of money, really had worked my way up the corporate ladder, had all the things that I thought life, we want. We achieved the cars, the motorcycles, the home, just all that stuff. And, my life was great. But I ended up getting this call to quit all that and to do something that really mattered. And while I was on that journey trying to figure out what does this mean, because like my whole, I would say the last 5 years leading up to that point, like my dream was to save a couple years salary in the bank and then maybe go with a backpack to South America or to the Middle East and just be a missionary and just be out there like for a year, just helping people. And that's what I thought that this meant, that okay, finally the time is going to come for me to be able to, I'm quitting my job, I have all this money in the bank, and I'm going as a missionary somewhere. And that wasn't it, so while I was on my journey trying to figure out what that meant, here in South Florida, this is my home, I ended up finding out about human trafficking. And like I knew human trafficking happened in other countries. I had seen the movie Taken, so for me that was human trafficking. But I didn't know that it was happening in the United States. And I didn't even know that it was happening in Miami. And it was a big eye-opener to find out that, at that time in 2013, the estimated numbers was that there's over 27 million people in the world that are in some form of modern-day slavery, whether it's sex trafficking, labor trafficking, organ trafficking, child labor, child soldiers. There's so many facets to it. I had no idea. Basically, there's more slaves in the world today than in any time in human history, and it could correlate to the fact that there's more people today. But you would think that when slavery was abolished, that slavery's over with, and no, that's not true. There's over 27 million people in some form of slavery today, and I found out about that, and I got moved, and I knew that this is where my journey was going to take me, and so I started doing as much research as I could, finding out about human trafficking, what it meant, how can I get involved. And it started with just raising awareness and talking to people about it. Every year there's an organization called the End It Movement, which is the red X that you see on my hat. And there's a day called Shine a Light on Slavery Day. It's a big day for us at the Miami Tattoo Company, that we do stuff that day. But I decided in 2013 to get this red X tattoo. And for me, you see me now, I've got 2 arm sleeves, I got a leg sleeve, but in 2013 I didn't have these tattoos. So for me, for people, that was kind of like something really, wow, Amor is serious about this. She got this tattoo. Wait, first of all, she quit her job. Hello, now she's getting a tattoo. What is going on with her? She's having a midlife crisis or whatever. But that opened up the door for me to be able to talk about human trafficking, because people were asking me, what does that red X mean? And basically it means end it. We want to end it. Whenever you see the red X, man, it's talking about ending this atrocity. So I was able to start talking to people about human trafficking, making people aware, which we still do today. But in March, actually March 29th, and that day I have it vivid in my mind, because here in South Florida, there was a news story on CBS, and it was about a 13-year-old little girl that had gotten rescued. And what got my attention was that A, she was 13, but B, that her pimp had tattooed his name on her eyelids. His name was Suave. And you, Antonella, knowing about tattooing, can you imagine what they had to do to that little girl? She had to either be tied down, forced, drugged, because to tattoo your eyelids, 13 years old, that had to be horrible.
Absolutely.
So for me, it gripped me. I couldn't understand, how can a human being do this to a person? So I started researching, and I found out that there's a practice called branding, and that's where a pimp or a trafficker will force a tattoo on his victim. And it could be a name, it could be a barcode, it could be a crown, a dollar sign, you name it. I've seen hundreds of them. And now that tattoo signifies that this person now belongs to me. So
Ownership.
now you're my property, it's ownership. So that's where I said, this is where I'm going to get involved, and this is how I'm going to get involved. And I contacted this guy in Chicago. His name is Chris Baker. At that time in 2013, he was the only guy out there doing something and helping trafficking survivors using the tattoo, the medium of tattoo, using it to in this form. And I told him, hey man, I want to be your hands and feet in Miami. And he was like, okay. Awesome, where's your tattoo shop? And I was like, oh no, I don't have a tattoo shop. I said, but you know what? I'm gonna get a tattoo shop. And lo and behold, 30 days later, I met a man who owned the shop I own now. And I bought the shop from him. 30 days after that, I was signing the papers, and that's my shop, Miami Tattoo Company on Miami Beach, and that's what we do. And like you said earlier, I do a lot of other stuff. I'm part of the South Florida Human Trafficking Task Force, and I'm part of several task forces, and just do a lot with anti-trafficking. I help pass legislation in Miami Beach to help fight human trafficking. So, 5 years later, I'm just all over the place now.
That's
in
awesome.
This fight, which is amazing.
That's really cool. If you're just tuning into Joe Radio, you're listening to Meet Them Mondays. I'm your host, Cristian Portilla. I'm here with Amor and Antonella Cerasuolo, and we're talking women and tattoos and women who tattoo in the industry. And so since we're getting into this topic about, trafficking and tattoos and things like that, Antonella, how does trust play in your career? And, between you and your client, how does that work? How does that relationship go for you?
Yeah, that's a big part in our industry, is establishing trust with your artist. If you're hesitant on getting something on your body and hesitant with your artist, you're gonna feel super uncomfortable. We're cutting people, and it's a exchange of energy. So you need to have some type of trust towards your artist to follow through and accommodate you the best way they could.
Have you ever had times where you're just not feeling someone's energy when they come in, and you're just yourself, you reject that and you don't want to put your hands on them?
That's a funny way of putting it, but sometimes I can't let that get in the way of me doing my job,
right? Yeah.
So I kind of have to just block them out and just do everything that I could. But there has been times where people cross boundaries, and
really,
as much as you should trust your artist, the artist will also you should have some mutual respect, which I think trust plays a big part in.
Mm-hmm.
but they cross boundaries, and I feel very uncomfortable.
Can you elaborate? What do you mean by cross boundaries?
They'll say comments, like snark comments, like underneath their breath, or like, you know, being gay in the industry, people feel a little more like open-minded with you, and they think that they could just like ask you certain things, or they want to play certain roles in your life. Like,
yeah,
they want to get personal with me, and I don't really like that.
Yeah.
So
I hear you. And the more you mentioned to me that the work that you do, which is tattoo removal, you work on referrals. So can you explain to me why you only work on referrals?
Well, early on, like when I first started with helping human trafficking survivors, of course my heart is I just want to help people. You know, unfortunately, even just like, you know, touching a little bit on what Antonella says, you know, there's people in this industry, or that people in general, you know, there's evil, and there's maliciousness, and there's scammers, you know, so, you know, I have to have a referral that comes from either the FBI, Homeland Security, which is organizations that I work with, Immigration, Customs Enforcement, and as well as the different non-governmental organizations I work with, because then that assures me that I am working with a human trafficking survivor, and not just some girl that unfortunately is going to come lie and want to get a bad boyfriend tattoo fixed.
Mm-hmm.
When I work with former gang members as well, for my own safety, it's very important that everyone I work with has come through a law enforcement organization. I get people all the time that reach out to me, and unfortunately, just for my own safety, I have to know where they're coming from, and I have to know their intentions, and the fact that, you know, they are trying to do a better life, and unfortunately these tattoos, you know, are keeping them from that. As much as I would love to help everyone, unfortunately I can't. It's something that we do pro bono, we do it for free. And we just can't get taken advantage of, because you will, you know, find people that will come in
that
and
will
lie
take advantage
and will
of
want to take advantage of the situation.
Can you quickly explain to me, because so you're not necessarily an artist, but I feel like you are, because you do the art of covering up. So can you like quickly tell us what that explain
I
that
would
process?
say, just out of respect for tattoo artists, because it is an art and it is a skill, and it is something that they work extremely hard. I'm an artist per se, where I grew up drawing. You know, I took art classes, and I can draw with a pencil, and I can copy, and even when I first got into the industry, I thought, wow, I'll be able to be a tattoo artist, until I actually saw the amount of intense labor and skill that it takes for them, because they're artists first, but there's a big difference between drawing on paper or on canvas than actually transferring this onto people's skin. So I'm always I'm always very careful to not represent myself as a tattoo artist, even though every time I get interviewed, they'll immediately say I'm a tattoo artist. I am not. I mean, I have done semicolon tattoos. I've done like 10, because
but talk to me about how you cover
But anyway,
up.
so what I do is I don't cover. My artists do the cover up. So what I do when I do removals, it's a process called tattoo vanish, and basically I will go over the tattoo area with the tattoo machine, with a tattoo needle, and I'll open up the skin up until the area where the ink is exposed, and then I apply an all-natural product. And that product, what it does is it starts breaking up all the protective barriers that are around every ink particle. And then now the body, which is a natural healer, recognizes and realizes that there's an invasion in the body, and then the body will naturally start pushing that ink out. The customer, the survivor, the person I'm working on would, you know, need to keep that area dry for 2 to 3 weeks and allow a scab to form, because that scab will now work as a sponge to help the ink find its way out. So the ink slowly gets pushed out by the body, and what comes out. So I do that process, but I'm also partnered up with a laser removal center, and they're actually helping me do human trafficking survivors for free. So any human trafficking survivor, I actually send to them.
What's their name?
It's Miami Ink Off, and they're out off of Brickell. They're a great organization.
That's awesome.
And they're helping us in doing survivors for free. The process that I do does work, but it takes a long time, and it's a lot on the customer, so they have to keep the area dry. They can't wet it. It's so much of a pain.
So they do like a faster process.
So with the laser, it's actually faster. It's less of a toll on them, and like my goal and my heart is I just want this tattoo off. So I don't care if I do it or they do it. It's not about who gets the credit. It's about helping this person start a new life. and remove this tattoo off of them. So that's
Awesome.
why I've I'm blessed to have found this organization and that they are also helping fight human trafficking.
And so, since we're talking about these tattoos and getting them removed, I just want to gauge you for your opinion. Is there such thing to you as good tattoos and bad tattoos, Antonella?
Yes, of course there is.
What would you classify as like a bad tattoo, I guess, versus a good one?
That's really... Okay, some people have the idea that... How can I put this? Okay, a good tattoo is something that will last, longevity-wise. And something solid, something with straight lines, something that shows confidence. I think that's what makes a good tattoo, is that it's consistent and it holds down for a very long time.
Do you know a bad tattoo when you see one, or when someone brings you like a bad tattoo?
It happens often. Unfortunately, people go on Google and it's very saturated, and people bring in what they see, the major population, what they like, and they want us to replicate that. But I show them, hey, I could do this way better, so let me show you what I could do, and then you decide if you want to go ahead with what I designed for you. So there are lots of bad tattoos, and there's a lot of bad tattoo parlors as well. Unfortunately, like, you don't go through a process or through some type of community and for them to say, hey, you're eligible to have a successful tattoo shop,
Right.
Yeah, and it's really hard to weed out the good artists from the bad artists sometimes.
Right.
And sometimes the best of artists are falling in the cracks, and the worst of artists are in the best tattoo shops. So
I know.
it's really weird. But I think that with experience and with, self-educating yourself is what will show in your tattoo product, really.
Absolutely. You're listening to Meet Them Mondays on Jolt Radio, and we're talking women and tattoos. Let's talk about judgments, because this was something that we had spoken about before, a while back when we initially started talking about this. Do women, and do you feel that women with tattoos get judged more harshly than men? And what have your experiences been like? What are some of the things you've heard people say, or how do they treat you when they see you with tattoos, Antonella?
Being a woman with tattoos, some people feel a little entitled to be very, like, touchy with you and, like, oh, let me see your art, or let me do this.
And they'll just come and grab you.
Yeah, and they'll just come and grab you with, like, no consent, which is totally fine. I understand. I have really great work from a lot of amazing artists. I'd get excited, too, if I saw some good work, but it's weird. Like, people are really quick to approach you, like, fast, opposed to someone that doesn't have tattoos. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because we're intriguing or whatnot. But being a female tattooer, sometimes I've been at the shop, which is Junkyard Studios, and I'm sitting in the front desk, and people are like, oh, like, can I speak to a tattooer? And I'm like,
you are speaking
I am a tattooer, actually. I'm not the front desk girl, and that happens a lot more often than you think. But I have built my name at that shop, so people know already. But still, sometimes I get that random guy that's like, oh, she's gonna tattoo me?
Oh, hell no.
I've even had one client recommended to me, and they didn't know that I was a female, and was like, no, I don't want a female to tattoo me.
What?
Like that. Yeah. Which is, it's just...
Dang, but I was gonna say, but these times are so progressive, but let me not go there.
It's just a few, but it does happen, and I think female tattooers now are growing more than ever. I mean, they have been, but they're not getting so much recognition for it like they are now. So I think that's a good thing.
Absolutely. And how about you, Amor? Women and tattoos, do you feel like you're judged more harshly because you have tattoos?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, kind of back to what she was talking about, though. I find we're finding a lot of that as well with women. But over where I'm at, people are always looking for female tattoo artists. So I am seeing that trend spin. So,
really? Why is that? Where are they looking for?
Most of women that I've dealt, at our studio, we do work with a lot of people that come from other countries, a lot of people locally. I have one lady right now. We're waiting. I have a female tattoo artist, but she's in Indiana, and she's going to just be coming back doing guest spots with us. So I have her where she's almost booked just because people only want to get tattooed by her. Because she's a female, there's some areas where a husband feels more comfortable if his wife is getting tattooed by a female artist, where there's women that feel more comfortable getting tattooed by a female artist. And I have a lot of friends down in the industry that are female tattoo artists, and their work really stands up against with the guys. So I am seeing that trend definitely change, definitely at our studio. It is changing where we do get that request more and more to have female tattoo artists. I have few female tattoo artists lined up to come actually do guest spots with us because of that as well.
How have you seen the industry evolve then since?
But it's true. It just depends too on the area where you're at.
Okay.
It also depends. But back to your question, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just did a post last week about, I'll walk into a room with people full of suits. I mean, in January, I was one of 10 out of 300 organizations or people in the South Florida Human Trafficking Task Force that was invited to a roundtable with the U.S. Attorney, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. And they came down to do a story on how our task force has been able to do so much more and where they want to model our task force across the country. So I get to go in circles like that, and I'll walk into a room where I'm actually about to speak.
Okay,
and
so
I
it's
walk
evolving.
I walk in, I walk in, and then people see all my tattoos, and I already start seeing the faces like, ooh,
oh, really?
And already the judgment, and the people already like saying, ooh, who is she? What is she? And it's funny.
Yeah.
And it's funny because my favorite part is when they call up the keynote speaker, Amor Sierra, and there I walk up on the platform and I get to see everybody's face, and then I get to talk about what I do. And then at the end, I have a line of people coming and want to talk to me to get my business card because they're blown away by what I do. And part of my presentation, I do say that as soon as you guys saw me, you guys probably started making judgments. And the point I make is that as a society, we tend to do that. And I'll bring it back to human trafficking survivors. When you hear human trafficking survivor, human trafficking victim, it does something to your heart. But if I say prostitute, initially people are already like, oh yeah, but she's a prostitute. And we're already judging her because we think she's a prostitute. We don't realize that she's probably being forced to do this, and she's probably doing that. And I think that as a society, we need to stop judging people, making judgments like what you said. You're a gay tattoo artist. We need to stop. We need to stop worrying about who you sleep with, who you're with. We need to stop worrying about what you look like if you have tattoos. We're people. And we just need to worry about who we are. And it shouldn't take, for me, for example, to get up there on a platform and share what I do, to then have people look at me different. But you know what? It happens, and it happens all the time. And then when they find out, wait a minute, 6 years ago, I was with my Armani suits, with my, walking around in corporate America, making almost $200,000 a year, and not realizing, oh, wait, I've had people say, oh, at first I thought you were, and now I realize you're one of us. I'm like, what do you mean I'm one of you? Oh, you're like corporate. I'm like, no, man, I'm me.
Yeah.
I used to be corporate. So what does that mean? You're one of us. No.
Right.
Yeah, I'm educated. You're one of us. I'm educated.
Want to categorize you real fast.
Yeah, so the tattoos, and people just need to stop.
How can we put a positive spin on your daily lives? Like, how do you change that conversation in your day-to-day, Antonella? How do you feel like we could turn this this judgment and this into a positive thing?
I think that just starts with you and how you deal with people and how you
approach them, maybe.
Yeah,
and how you treat them.
You know what? It's hard to answer that question because I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
How do I implement in a way? How do I put them on to a new idea of coming out of their bubble?
Right.
Thinking differently. There has been times I do put brakes on people. They don't expect it, or they don't expect me to say no, and they're very wow, okay.
Yeah.
I know who's in control right now.
Okay.
It's there's been many times guys or girls really want to just control the whole tattoo or control the whole the experience,
exchange,
the everything, and it's do you want to do it? Because I'll give you the machine, right? Do you want to tattoo it?
Ooh.
I've had people even want to draw it out, and I go, okay, go, try, do it. And then they realize,
what about when they say, I just want something simple. I just want a simple tattoo. It's like, wait a minute, there's nothing simple.
There's nothing simple about tattooing somebody.
Yeah.
And that's a huge misconception, is that tattooing is easy and you could go on YouTube and read about it. And no, you need a proper apprenticeship, internship, so people understand better.
Awesome. We're gonna go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, I actually want to talk about how, like, the do's and don'ts, and we'll get into that when we come back. This is Meet Them Mondays on Jolt Radio. Yeah, remember that Facebook Live is still going, so just in case, because people tend to forget.
Yeah, I do ours too. We do Facebook Live, and they're like, oh,
yeah. But I was gonna tell you about what's that word? I wrote it down. When you teach someone, go key really quick, but hurry, because it's like a mini. What was I gonna tell you? When you give someone manners classes, oh my god, I have it written down. Etiquette.
Oh, tattoo etiquette.
Tattoo etiquette. That's what I want to get into. Tattoo etiquette.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk about that. We're already halfway through the show. We only have 30 minutes left. So make sure you get everything. Don't get shy. Don't say, I don't know how to say this. No, say it however way it comes out. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Say, I choke sometimes. I'm like,
And I was like, you're like, no. Don't worry, tranquila. However it comes out, however, this you can be you.
About like
right?
10 seconds.
Oh, 10 seconds? Damn,
yeah.
that was fast. Alright, put your headphones on. Because I'll have to ask you first if she's in the bathroom.
Take your time and answer.
This is Meet Them Mondays on Jolt Radio. I'm your host, Cristian Portilla, and today we're talking women and tattoos. And so I'm here with Antonella. Cerasuolo. I have to say your name like that.
You got it.
And, we were just talking about tattoo etiquette and the do's and don'ts of tattooing. And so I'm really curious to know, what is some tattoo etiquette? What can we tell people that are first timers, or just kind of like, hey, this is how you should approach your artist. This is how you should come in when you come into the studio. Like some tips on etiquette so people know.
Absolutely. Definitely familiarize yourself with the artist's art, their tattoos. If a guy's specializing or a girl specializing in black and gray goddesses, you're not gonna ask them for like a Japanese sleeve. You're gonna pick and choose your artists according to what you want. So that's number one in choosing your artist.
Okay.
And there's artists that have been doing it for 10 years. There's artists that have been doing it for 15 to 20 years. Everyone does price differently. And depending on the quality of work will depend on their pricing. So there's been times where people want really quality work, but they don't want to pay the average hourly rate. And you're not going to get good work. You're not going to get good work somewhere cheap. Let's just be honest. If someone is charging you $50 for something the size of a football, I mean, that's a little fishy. It's like there's someone putting a needle in you. So,
right.
So know that good tattoos aren't cheap and cheap tattoos aren't good.
Mm-hmm. I've read that a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
And what about you, Amor? Any tips on etiquette for the people that come into your shop that get tattooed with your artists?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said is good. Is definitely know your artist, or not know your artist, know the style. Like what you just said is perfect. Like, I have an artist that he specializes in realism, in color, black realism, and sometimes because he's a really good artist, he's a great looking guy, I'll get people that are just like, well, I want him to do this, and I'll reach out and I'm like, I've got these other guys that are great. Well, why he doesn't want to do that? I'm like, well, actually he's by appointment only. He's booked for $1,000 on up tattoos. Yeah. It's not that he wouldn't, it's just that the way his timing is, but just stuff like that to get educated and understand the style that you want. or at least if you're gonna come get the tattoo, have an idea of what you want. We'll help you put it together. Like our tattoo studio is a custom tattoo studio. We'll help you put it together, but sometimes we'll get people that walk in and it's like, yeah, I want whatever, this, a face, and then they don't have no idea if they want traditional, if they want realism, just do a little bit of homework, and take a look, because it's on your body and it's forever. You talked about pricing is perfect, because sometimes there's people that, they'll want an inexpensive tattoo, and you tell them the rates and they're like, oh, what? And it's like, wait a minute, you're wearing $200 pair of shoes, you're wearing a $300 jacket, and you're going to be cheap about something that is permanent and it's going on your body.
You need to get your priorities right.
You're walking with the newest Yeezys, but you don't want to pay the $50 minimum, and it's like...
Yeah, and so people need to understand that, tattooing is an art. So this is not like going and buying a pair of shoes or going and buying a Coke at 7-Eleven. I mean, this is an art. These are artists. And it's not like, something I cut in on you earlier about simple, where I'll get people, and again, it's no offense to them, they just don't know that. They'll be like, no, but I just want a simple this. And it's like, there's absolutely nothing that is simple about tattooing. Try writing your name with a fine point pen on a piece of paper that you don't have any support over, and see how neat your handwriting is. And then just think about how it is for a tattoo artist, even a line. I'll get people that come in and want to do the parallel band. Mm-hmm. Oh, but that's simple. They don't even understand that is tough.
You're tattooing not on a flat surface.
Exactly. Yeah. So, get yourself educated. There's so many things out there now that you can read on about tattoos. We definitely want to help you through this experience. One thing that I found is that when people get a tattoo, their first tattoo is something that is significant and means something to them, and they did their research and they went to a good artist, that tattoo is going to mean something to them forever, and they will continue to get more tattoos. But when the random person comes in and just says, oh, I want a tattoo, what do you want? Oh, I don't know, what do you think? First of all, it's on your body. It's not what I think. It's what you want. That's where people end up just getting that one tattoo that they regret. They never get tattoos again because it didn't mean something, or they go and get the bad tattoo. And we all have bad tattoos.
Yeah.
Everyone, even
especially
tattoos are loaded with bad tattoos. But it's important, man.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I was just going to ask, what are some of the favorite tattoos that you have on your body, on yourself?
Cool.
So, Antonella,
before that, I want to add on, definitely when you go into a tattoo shop, know what you want, more or less. The artist will guide you. And number 2, respect. Respect your artist and respect yourself too, and that's super important. We wanted to talk about the face tattoos.
We will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll bring that out. That was coming, but you already threw that out there, so let's get into it. There's some tattoos you won't do.
Yeah, I won't tattoo anything symbols, like negative symbols, like gang related, or any type of like racial symbol or anything like that. I won't tattoo young kids on their face or their hands, unless I won't. If you're heavily tattooed and you have a face tattoo, I'll tattoo your face, no problem. If you're a tattooer, I'll tattoo your face, stuff like that. But I've only done 2 face tattoos.
Yeah, I saw you recently.
Yeah, I recently did one too, and that's because she was my friend and she has one already, and she's heavily tattooed.
Right.
So we call them job stoppers. We're not gonna tattoo a 17-year-old on his face. I mean, I won't. There's some tattooers out there that will, but that's fine. To each their own. But
what the hand you meant, like the knuckles, right? I remember you had to wear the hands.
Anything very visible, the neck, the face.
So those are the ones that you won't.
Yeah.
And what are some tattoos that you do like to work on, like for your style? I know you have something particular.
I like botanical, like floral, anything nature related, and I also like classic traditional tattooing. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. It will never go out of style, and it's here to stay forever.
Okay, awesome.
You actually tattoo really good, so I checked out your work. Yeah, you're really good for tattooing for the amount of time you said. I mean, you do really good work. So
Appreciate
hats
it.
off.
Since 2015.
Yeah, I'm really fixated on just try to be one of the best. I think that's what separates a good tattooer from a bad one too. Because you could be an amazing doctor.
Yeah.
You could be a terrible doctor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
it's relative.
It's really like how much hustle and how much work you put into it, and
Absolutely.
how dedicated you are. So
You're listening to Meet the Mondays on Jolt Radio. I'm your host, Cristian Portilla, and we're talking women and tattoos. I was just getting into asking you, what are some of your favorite tattoos that you have tattooed on your body? Do you have one in particular that you really like?
Yeah, I have a lot of them.
What's your favorite?
One of my favorites is the cilantro. You know, Colombian. We put
It's
cilantro
awesome.
on everything. Yeah, I have a
Cilantro's the
cilantro on me, and I have a silly tattoo which I really enjoy, and people enjoy too. It says
shrimp?
"I don't fuck with you"
Oh.
on my on my elbow, but it's like IDW. You know, it's not spelled out.
Okay,
So
okay.
you gotta kind of like
Guess,
what does
yeah.
that mean? And I have a lot of cool stuff on me. It's really hard. I have Walt Disney on me with Mickey hands.
Yeah.
I have a dude with a mustache on my thigh. I mean, that's really, really odd.
What some people may not know is that you tattooed me. You actually did a 27 on me, on like, what is this area, like above my wrist type of area, like on my wrist, yeah. And it's a small tattoo, but one of the most meaningful tattoos that I have. 27 to me is like a power number. You were giving a statistic earlier, Amor, and you said 27. Yeah, so that number always like shows up.
True.
And also, I had stupidly gotten a dermal, and my mom was like, "No, don't do that," you know, whatever. And I did it anyway, and it ended up scarring really bad. And everyone would always ask me, "What happened to you there?" And it was so small but so noticeable. So you covered that up for me when you did 27, and it was so much better.
Yeah, I made sure to really be meticulous because
Mhm.
I know you're picky.
Yeah. And now that we're talking women and tattoos, this is a good time to shout out what are some of the top tattoo shops in our city and some women artists that are working here in Miami.
Oh, that's a good one. When I started apprenticing, I know Puka from Ocho Placas. She does really awesome stuff. And
I haven't met her, but she's tattooed a lot of my friends from my church, and they have just amazing things to say about her. And I've seen her work. She
she's really
tattoos
good.
fierce.
I've heard of her
Puka.
too.
Yeah, and she's very like herbalist and holistic, and she has like a huge garden, so it's really awesome. Her work is really awesome.
How about you, Amor? Do you know anyone on the
Yeah,
show?
I mean, one of my friends is Tattoo Baby, and she has her shop Till the End Tattoos. And she's a great tattoo artist.
She's Colombian, eh?
Yeah, she's
yeah.
Colombian.
I've seen her a few times. I've been to a lot of tattoo conventions,
Yeah.
New York and San Francisco, and she's always there.
I've heard of her, yeah.
She's got a great shop with a great crew as well, and she's pretty awesome. I love her a lot. So
Anyone
Tattoo
else you can
Baby.
think of?
A tattooer. I mean, they're from Australia. Her name's Emily Rosemary.
Mhm.
I'm obsessed with her work.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm always looking at her stuff. She's like really influenced by Art Nouveau and, you know, female Renaissance paintings, and
Dope.
yeah, she has a really distinct style to her. It's good to look at other tattooers, but it's also really easy to fall into a trap of almost being like a cop out of them. You know, so that's one of the hardest things I think as being an artist and a tattooer is finding yourself, and because you go through different periods as an artist.
Yeah.
One day I want to just do black and gray all the time, and then I want to do some real cool color stuff. So it's really hard to pick one thing because there's so much.
Yeah.
So.
And I wanted to talk about the most memorable tattoos. Maybe more for you, one of the tattoos that you've covered up, or a story of someone that came in.
One of the first young ladies that we got to help, and this is going back to May of 2013. Her name's Kim, and they came down from Tampa, and it was 3 survivors that came down, and they pulled up to the front of the tattoo shop, and 2 of them came out, and when she came out, she just took off running down Washington Avenue, and then the ministry leader, they came through a church in Tampa that has a human trafficking ministry, and she went after her running, and I just remember thinking, wow, gosh, this is going to be tough, but we'll do what we have to. And I remember going and talking to the artist and just letting him know, man, please be very careful where you put your hands, your arms, etc. Just be careful with these girls. It's the first time they're going to do something like that, and so I was there. It was a two-day tattooing because we had 3. The first night we did a girl who had the brand on her neck, but this one young lady, Kim, was like in the corner, and the whole time she was just standing in the corner looking at the corner, you know, and it was just so weird. She was so hurt and so broken and so fragile. The next day was her turn, and I told again the artist, listen, please be careful, because her tattoo was on her hip. And so I was like, just we don't want to do anything that triggers. You know, sometimes it could trigger. You know, they suffer a lot of PTSD, so you know, we got to be very careful with what we do.
How you do
and
it.
it was like a 6-hour long cover up. It was a huge cover up because she had the brand, and then they tried to do a cover up at some point after she got rescued, but the cover up was really bad. So it was
Cover
a
up of
bad
a cover up.
and so you could still see the guy's name. So then we, you know, had to go over it. So it was gonna be like a 6-hour, like a long day, and the day was long. But
and how did she handle that?
And she was just sat there. She was just hard. But at the end, when she finally saw it, we gave her a mirror. She just started looking at herself. Like, you can just start seeing
The change.
that her face and the change. And she started hugging me and hugging the artist, and you know, they left super happy. And then through the course of the time, you know, I stayed in touch with her and just stayed following up and checking in on her. And now about 2 years later, Channel 7 wanted to do a news story on what we do. And you know, the news people, they always, you know, ideally would love to have a survivor come on, but we never want to do anything or bring a survivor on or anything like that. So I just contacted the ministry leader and asked her if she wouldn't mind coming on the show and just talking about what we did. And she called me and said, she goes, you know what, Kit wants to come on the show.
What?
Because she wants to be silhouetted. I said, yeah, absolutely. So we did, you know, and that's you know, there's a Channel 7 news story. It's called Erasing the Past, and you know, I have it up on my site and you can see it. But what's been neat is that was done in 2015, and you see her, she's silhouetted, you see how her life has changed. But now fast forward to 2018, like she's a good friend of mine. I keep in touch with her. She's married, you know. She's like, her life has changed. Now she's a public speaker, and she goes around the world talking about her story and her survival story. And
so
to see that
through
completely 360, to see that happened from being able to cover up this tattoo. And then those same stories are countless with the survivors we work with. Like, a lot of survivors, once we're able to do that cover up, now they have the confidence to go and testify against the trafficker. Because in trafficking cases, the trafficker most of the time will get released if there's not a victim who testifies. So helping them with this tattoo, you know. And I get, the other day, like 2 months ago, I got contacted from a survivor that we covered up her tattoo, and she just started telling me that, you know, she's getting married now, and she's got this great job, and she's doing this, and she's up in another state, and how this tattoo helped give her this new life. And you know, and I'm privy and honestly feel blessed that I get to hear those stories every time.
The stories of redemption.
Because we're able, you know, just by covering up or removing these tattoos from these people and giving them that new life. So now this brand that was on them that just continued to mark them, now they're completely free from it. Like, chains get broken.
That's
and
beautiful.
They're completely set free. So,
you know, I don't think that people realize how tattoos can be very much psychological and emotional. And you know, there are those people, because I know how you said, oh, what's your silliest tattoo, Anto, that you had posted that on your Instagram, and a lot of people commented silly tattoos and stuff like that. But a lot of people go in to get tattoos when they're going through something, or when they're like, there's a change coming or something like that. Can you speak on that? Like, what are some of the people that come into the shop? What are some of the things that you've known people to go through and they just come in and have some work done?
Yeah, absolutely. People get tattooed for many different reasons. One of the reasons could probably be like the death of someone. I sometimes don't recommend them to instantly do it, to just give it some time, you know, for the grieving period, you know, because if they pass away yesterday and then you're getting tattooed tomorrow, it's kind of impulsive. I've seen that a lot. It's hard, you know. You hear sometimes some freak stories. We tattoo a lot of different type of people, you know, blue collar, white collar, firefighters, policemen, even FBI agents like that. And we hear some really weird stories. Sometimes people come in, you know, when their dog passed away too, or when someone's dealing with suicide. You know, lots of like, suicide.
Semicolon.
Yeah, I've tattooed those a lot. Or also if someone's dealing with something a hardship in their life, I feel like sometimes tattooing's a release.
Like relationships or things
like that. Relationships too. You know, it's funny that you're speaking about gang members being possessive or branding people. People do that still. When you walk into a tattoo shop, some people want to get their their husband's names or their wife's names. And I get it. Sometimes it's pure out of love, but sometimes it is very possessive. And I've seen moments where the woman won't talk, and the guy forcefully is like, "Oh, you're gonna do this name on her." Like, I've covered up. I've done a name of a person in between the thighs, and it was very personal. Yeah, and he was really weird. Fast forward. But she came back and I covered it up for her. And she was like so stoked. It happens often. I always ask them, hey, are you sure about this? You know, because tattoos are forever. Right. You know, people come and go. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do, of course, what the client asks. Like, we're there to accommodate you. But people get tattooed for different reasons. Sometimes it's a hobby of people, you know? Yeah. Some people just really like it. And they even build what we call shop rats. People that hang out at the shops, and they come for years and they keep coming, and it almost becomes like they're part of us, you know, part of our little community that we built. So I've seen people come for 5 years, you know, the same people. So it's pretty
You're
cool.
listening to Meet Them Mondays on Jolt Radio. We have 10 minutes left of the show, so we'll be wrapping up soon. But I did want to talk about this. We were talking about redemption and people coming in to have things covered up, or other people getting tattoos of things that they love and they want to show off. Dealing with the public and dealing with people all the time, what has tattooing taught you about the spirit of people and people in general? Maybe Amor, you can go first. You that you encounter people with these past, like, what about the spirit of resilience? Or
yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, another thing that I didn't mention, one of the things that we do as well as part of our ministry, we call it, is we help cutting survivors cover up their scars. And, you know, I come from a background of, you know, I suffered a lot of depression and, you know, had various suicide attempts, you know, up until the time I was 26, and was also a cutter. So that has always been something in my heart. And, you know, it's another area too that you know, I was just with a girl who came to see me at the hospital the other day, that about 2 years ago, you know, she came into the shop and we got to cover up her scars from cutting, you know, heavy scars. And I remember talking to the artist when she left. I said, hey, how's she doing? She goes, no, she's doing good. I said, do me a favor, text her my cell phone. I want to stay in touch with her. And over the course of the, you know, last 2 years, we've become friends. And, you know, I've seen her resilience and her change. And, you know, fast forward 2 years later, you know, she's married now. And now she's going and sharing her testimony and her story of her own resilience and her redemption. And it all started, you know, helping her with this tattoo. And I would tell you that, you know, definitely a lot of the people that we do help with the cutting scars, to see again their life fast forward and the changes that are made just shows that tenacity and that strength. And, you know, and then there's a lot of people, like what Antonella was saying, you know, people come in for so many different reasons why they're getting the tattoo, whether it's a death, you know, a family member, or, you know, we do the breast reconstruction on breast cancer survivors. Wow. And to see again that strength and that power in the woman, to see their life start again, and then be able to, you know, by creating either a new nipple or creating some beautiful flower or vines or something to help cover up them scars, that gives them that strength. And, you know, there's just
that
something,
confidence.
That confidence. And there's just something very important with, you know, with the tattooing. That, you know, you can help a person. You know, like for me, you know, you were asking her some of her favorite tattoos. Like for me, my favorite one is, I have a quote from William Wilberforce, who he's a slavery abolitionist, you know, in England in the 1800s. And he said a quote that said, you may choose to look the other way, but you can never say again that you did not know. And I have that on my arm right under the words "end human trafficking." And anytime I show it, you know, this picture of this tattoo has gone all over the world. And anytime that people immediately meet me, that's the first thing they're going to see, you know, end human trafficking. And guess what? You can choose to look the other way, but you can never say again that you did not know. Mm-hmm. So now what are you going to do about it? You know, so it's just, you know, tattoos to me it's my life. It's what we do, you know, and we love being able to help people share their story, put their story on their body, you know, walk, you know, like she was saying, you know, we get blue collar. I mean, we get all kinds of people from the entire spectrum, you know, that come and get tattoos, and to be able to be a part of that and share their story and have them be able to tell a story, you know, it's just pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I love that you have that on your arm, because that's such a great point of awareness too, that you get to talk to people about this.
Yeah.
And what have you learned about working with people in terms of their resilience, or when they come in and get a cover up, and how you have to cover up sometimes bad work?
I like helping people, and it feels really nice when people are super ecstatic about their tattoo. It really makes me feel good, you know, that they left here like with a good experience and something that they could show off. People sometimes get quotes or reminders to be strong or be resilient, like you said, and they really feel it. Like it's something that they brand themselves, but it's something that they could see on a daily basis to kind of remind them, hey, like, be strong or move on, you know. So sometimes people do get tattoos to feel empowered, and that's totally cool. And I have covered up some scars, and I have covered up even like scars on the head where the hair doesn't grow, and they were so happy. Like, some people sometimes leave in tears, and I'm like,
oh wow,
I don't know what to do, you know. But it feels really good to be able to do that for someone, like almost change their lives, you know. And you sometimes I get those. You specialize more in that, so you get it more often. But it's tattooing really is powerful.
Yeah,
really
I mean,
is.
I'll tell you that a person who is maybe not a survivor, but who has a bad tattoo that they have been carrying for so many years. And for example, like, you'll probably agree, like, you have people that, you know, I always wear long sleeve shirts, or I never, because they have this bad tattoo because they're ashamed.
Yeah, I've seen
and
that
you
too.
do a cover up, it changes their life, and they didn't need to be a human trafficking survivor. So I mean, cover ups are powerful, even for people to help them, because we see that when they get covered up and it's a brand new tattoo over this bad tattoo mistake idea, whatever that they did,
or when they were
and
really
so
young,
happy,
and they outgrew, and it kind of even, some people even judge them for it, and that's why they feel so like, I need to cover this up, because people are getting the wrong idea.
I guess I'm interested in knowing what you want your legacy to be. What do you want? Yeah, what do you want to be remembered for in terms of your art and your tattoos and what you're doing for people and in this world as an artist?
Yeah,
Antonella.
That's an interesting question. I just want to be. I don't want to be a superstar. I just want to make clean, good tattoos that could last a lifetime, and I want to build something in my hometown where people know, you know, that I have been tattooing the greater people of Miami for X amount of years, and they could come to me. So as far as an artist, I just want to keep growing, and I don't have a timeline to tell me, hey, this is where I'm gonna be or anything, but do as much traveling and tattooing and tattoo as much people as I can and meet other tattooers. That's something that I really want to do, and that's how you get better. You know, you pick little things from different people here and there, and I can't just stay so closed off into one area. I gotta kind of just branch out. But I want to be in books. You know, I want my children to be like, that was my mom, you know, like, so she did this, you know, so and yeah.
And Amor, how about you? And we only have like 2 minutes left, but
I do 2 minutes.
Five minutes.
And I do also want to.
We have 5 minutes.
Okay, awesome. And I want to talk to you about your legacy and the work that you're doing, but also talk about how you're opening up a new shop.
Yeah. So super excited. We're opening up our second location, and it's going to be in Sweetwater, which is a crazy other story, because I was actually underneath the bridge for like 2 minutes, about an hour before it fell.
Oh, wow.
So that was insane. But we're opening up a second location, and it's going to be in Sweetwater. And why we're going there is because it's a central vein to the city. And one of the problems that we have by being on Miami Beach is that it takes a survivor a lot longer to get to us. Survivors, unfortunately, are sometimes in very low-income situations. They're still in safe homes. They don't have family, or they don't have transportation or cars. So to get to Miami Beach, it takes them a long time. So where a survivor could have taken her 2 days to get to me, it takes them a month. So we found a location that it's very close to Department of Homeland Security, which I work hand in hand with. And B, it's very central. I mean, a survivor will just have to get on one bus to get to us. if they have to take a couple buses, it's just so easy. We're going to be very close to the turnpike, very close to the 836. So it puts us in a spot where we're going to be able to help more and more trafficking survivors get to us. So we'll probably be able to, just help even that many more. And so it's been huge. And then again, as a business, it's awesome to be now in Miami. I do get a lot of people that are like, man, we just don't want to go all the way out there. And it's okay. I get it. But now we're going to be somewhere there. So it's exciting. It's 2,000 square feet. We're putting about $150,000 into the renovation. We're completely gutting the place out. It's going to be beautiful.
When will it be ready by?
It's probably going to take about 3 or 4 months to turn it.
Okay.
Because they're doing a lot of work to it. So it's going to be beautiful, and we're excited.
Congrats.
It's a great Miami tattoo company too, over to Sweetwater. Got a super welcome from the commissioner. One of the commissioners at Sweetwater, I've been started helping them about a year ago with their anti-trafficking division. So to get an open door welcome by that city to come into their city has been amazing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And in terms of your legacy,
yeah, I will tell you what I don't want. I don't care for people to know me by my opinions, but what I stand for, what I stand against. How I live my life, who I used to be. Like, I just want people to remember me by my love, how I treated, how I loved God, and how I loved my fellow human being. And that's really all I want them to remember me for, is my name is love.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here, to both of you, Antonella. Thank you, Amor. Thanks for listening to Meet Them Mondays tonight. Make sure to tune back in Monday, April 9th and the 23rd at 7 p.m. for new episodes of Meet Them Mondays on Jolt Radio. And to listen to tonight's show and other episodes, head to runforyourrights.com and find me on the web at runforyourrights. This is Cristian Portilla signing off. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. This is such a cool place, man. This is such a cool place. Oh, and what's the dog's name?
Pepe!
Pepe! What's up, Pepe?
Thank you so
much. All right. Thank you.
We're still live on
there's so
Facebook.
much more too. Like, you have no idea. Like,
yeah, no,
I couldn't even talk about how saturated like the tattoo industry is now. Like, so saturated.
Yeah, when you asked that question talk about good and bad shops, I was like, oh, you can't
yeah,
talk about
there
good and
is.
bad shops. We out of respect.
Oh,
We wouldn't,
actually,
like, even out of respect, I wouldn't even tell her, hey, come work for me. Just, I don't even know junk, but that's like, it's such crossing.
Really? Yeah, respect.
Yeah, you have to respect.
That's what I was gonna talk about. Like, respect, and it's so huge in our industry.
You have to respect.
Yeah,
and there's so many that disrespect.
So many. And look, I was like the
Remember,
last.
we're still live on Facebook.
Okay, well, I was.
That's
like
fine. This is after stuff.
I was like the last. Well, the newer apprentices that I've seen are like. they don't really like no respect.
Well, because they're not well versed probably on like the ethic, like that.
And respect is so key. I mean, like, my artists, they'll show me direct private messages from a certain owner in Miami who's constantly trying to get my guys to go work, and they're always like, no, buddy, we're actually, and it's like, really? Don't disrespect. It's like, don't disrespect, and especially if you're an owner of a studio or a shop. I'll call it a shop, but it's not a studio. Don't reach out to other people's artists. Like if one of my artists wants to go work for another shop, that's
willingly.
Man, that's it. But if you're another, don't reach out. Like, I would not reach out to any artist directly. If they come to me, there's nothing I can do.
Right.
But you don't disrespect, because there has to be this line of respect in the industry. Yeah. You just have to respect the industry, and have to respect the owners, and have to respect the artists
and your mentors and the people who helped you, because now it's like easier, but back then it was like a sealed handshake. Like, hey, spit on it, let's do it. Okay,
no, but that's how I am. I'm Gen X, baby. You shake my hand, and that's it.
That's a sealed agreement.
You shake my hand, and that's.
That's awesome. Are we still live on Facebook?
Look, they said this is a piece I
Thank
did.
you all for tuning in. I'll post the episode on
That's exactly who I was talking